that Africa is not just going digital, it's being digitized on someone else's scam. What if the apps you celebrate, the fintech platforms you trust, the systems your governments depend on are all running on infrastructure that you do not control? Then let me ask you this. Truly, is Africa building a digital future or logging into one that is already owned, definitely by someone else? Tonight, we're not here for comfort. You know, we don't operate that way. We're not here for comfort. We're here for clarity. Because behind every click, every transaction, every data set, there is power. And the real question is, who holds it? And if you will remember, for a while now, we've been really dealing with who really owns the data, who really manages it, who really owns the data. There is power, because where there is data, there is power. Again, who really holds that power? I'm Chioma Lina, and this is the Bold Angle. We'll take a short break, and we'll go straight to the point. Welcome back. Welcome back. Really, let's stop pretending. Africa is online. But who is actually in control of that online reality? When you send money, who is really handling that transaction behind the scenes? When governments process sensitive data, whose systems are making those decisions possible? Really? When startups launch apps, whose infrastructure are they silently surrendering to? Your data is moving, like it or not. But who owns the system it moves into? Because every time, I'm going to repeat that again, every time you send money, you know this. Every time a government processes data, every time a startup launches an app, something invincible happens. Your data moves. Your data moves. Not just across networks, no, but into systems owned by someone else. And my friend, those systems aren't neutral. They are largely controlled. When we look at the country like America, for instance, you have a small group of global companies like Amazon company, yes, the web services. We have Microsoft, we have Google, we have Oracle. Now, together, they control the majority of the world's cloud infrastructure. Not some, most. Most. These companies have built cloud regions in places like Cape Town, Johannesburg. But we shouldn't be distracted by location, because the real question is not where is the data stored. The real question is who controls the system processing it. Because cloud infrastructure doesn't just store data. No. Cloud infrastructure is not building, it's not fabrics. It doesn't just store data. It decides how data is processed, where decisions are made, which laws apply, which systems your entire economy depends on. So let's ask it plainly. Here, this is the board angle. So we're just going to ask it plainly. If your entire digital economy runs on infrastructure you do not own, mark, underline the word. If your entire digital economy runs on infrastructure you do not own, are you truly in control of that economy? And now they're expanding aggressively across Africa. So tonight, we're not asking surface level questions. We're not asking, well, the very comfortable questions. No, we're asking the uncomfortable ones, because this is not just about technology. This is about power, control, and ownership of the future. And we've been discussing this for a while now. And more importantly, are those systems neutral or designed to serve someone else's interest? If a handful of foreign corporations control most of the world's cloud, what exactly are they building in Africa? Is it partnership or dominance? Let's move into another layer I like to term the invincible empire. The invincible empire. Cloud infrastructure is invincible. But is that invisibility a feature or a strategy? If you can't see it, touch it, or question it, how do you challenge its power? So let's strip away the distraction. It's not where is the data stored. It's this. Who controls how that data is processed? Who decides which laws apply? Who determines how decisions are made? Again, I ask, if your entire economy runs on infrastructure you do not own, are you running an economy or renting one? Are you running an economy or renting one? Is your country running on her economy, or is she renting one? We look at the issue of convenience versus control. You see that these platforms are powerful. They make scaling easy. And like I always like to ask the uncomfortable question, at what point does convenience become control? At what point? At what point does control become dependence? If African startups are building everything on foreign platforms, are they building wealth or building dependency? Remember, once you're locked in, can you truly walk away, or are you trapped by design? Is Africa really independent? Again, let's ask it from another perspective on who governs Africa's data. Africa is generating massive amounts of data. But let's get brutally honest. We need to get brutally honest at this point. Who actually governs that data? Is it governed by Africa? Is it governed by African economy? Or is it governed by someone else? Is it the country where it's created? The country where it's stored? Or the corporations that own the system? Because here's the real question. If you don't control access, processing, or decision making, access, process, decision making, do you own anything at all? Who really governs Africa's data? Who? Let's look at the new gatekeepers. Power used to belong to those who controlled land and resources. Now it belongs to those who control data and infrastructure. So let's not dance around it. Have cloud companies become the new gatekeepers of Africa's economy? Have Cloud companies become the new gatekeepers of Africa's economy. If your banks run on their systems, who holds the real financial power? If your tech ecosystem depends on them, who can shut it down? I ask. At what point do service providers become power brokers? At what point do service providers become power brokers? Of a truth, these platforms enable innovations, right? But let's challenge the narrative. Can you truly innovate independently on infrastructure you don't control? Is it possible? Or are you just innovating with someone else's rules, limits, and permissions? If the ecosystem defines your possibilities, is it really your ecosystem? So what is Africa building? A digital future of its own, or a future inside someone else's system? Okay, someone might say you're not talking security and strategic risk, but let's talk risk, real risk. If national systems depend on external infrastructure, what happens when access is cut off? Not theory, now we're dealing with reality. Geopolitics, corporate decisions, policy shifts. What happens when the plug is pulled? Are African nations prepared for that moment? Or are they assuming it will never come? Because here is the truth. Dependence feels safe until it isn't. You think you're winning. You think you're making progress, only to discover you've not moved an inch. If anything at all, you've actually driven backwards. Looking at the strategic future, Africa's digital economy is growing fast, but growth without control raises one question. Who is laying the foundation of that future, of Africa's future? And the bigger one, who will own it when it's complete? Will Africa build its own backbone or remain plugged into someone else's system indefinitely? Because let's be clear, participation is not ownership. Power has shifted. Real power has shifted. It shifted from land to resources to trade. Now it's shifted again. Power has shifted again. In the digital age, who really holds power? Those who generate the data, or those who control the system that processes it? Because these two things are not the same. You can be the one generating it, but you're not the one who control it, who checks the process. And the very annoying thing, will be pretending that they are. The very, very backward thing will be pretending they are. And the most dangerous mistake of all. So I would like to end this where it matters most, not with assumptions, with reality. Africa is generating the data. Africa is driving the growth. Africa is building the future. Well, here's the question that refuses to go away. It's just there. Who is controlling the foundation of that future? Who? Because history has taught us something. Control rarely announces itself. And if you listen to me quite often, you will know I have said that. Control doesn't announce itself. It integrates quietly, efficiently, irreversibly. So before we celebrate digital expansion, should we first ask who owns the system we are expanding into? Because in this era, you don't need to occupy land to control power. You don't need to occupy land to hold power or to be the one that wield power or that control power. You just need to control, what's it called? What's it called again? The infrastructure that runs everything. So I will leave you with this. I will leave you with this. I will leave you with this. When the future is fully built, when the future is fully built, will Africa be the users or the owners of this future? I ask again. When the future is fully built, will Africa be the owners of these future or just users? I am Chioma Lina, and yes, this is the bold angle, and the conversation is just getting started. Thank you, and your welcome.